لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا.
The last point that I want to make is another explanation, yani similar explanation, that also brings a different benefit that I think is really, really important here, and that is the point of seeing Allah. How do you see Allah? How do you worship Allah as though you see Him? Hafiz al-Hakami, Rahimahullaah, he says, yani the question, ما هو الإحسان في العبادة? What is Ihsaan al-Ibadah? And then he says that the Prophet ﷺ explained in the hadith where Jibril asks questions. Yani from his questions he asks, what is Ihsaan? And the Prophet said, to worship Allah as though you're seeing Him. And if not, then know that He sees you. This hadith reported by al-Bukhari, Muslim and others. He says that Hafiz al-Hakami, Rahimahullah, says that Ihsaan is on two levels. Two different levels. The highest of them is worshipping Allah كَأَنَّكَ تَرَاهُ, as though you see Him. وَهَذَا مَقَامْ الْمُشَاهَدَةِ. This is the level of al-mushahada. Shaykh al-Uthaymeen called it يعني عبادة الطلب. He calls it مقام المشاهدة. يعني is worshipping Allah as though you are witnessing Him. What exactly is that? And this is what I wanted to mention here. That's very, very important. And he explains, what do you mean by worshipping Allah as though you see Him? هو أن يعمل العبد على مقتضى مشاهدته لله تعالى بقلبه. It is worshipping Allah based upon yani the reality that a person is witnessing Allah with their heart, that you see Allah with your heart. How do you see Allah with your heart? He said هو أن يتنور القلب بالإيمان. Yani that a person's heart is enlightened by Iman. How do you see Allah? Yani how do you worship Allah as though you see Him? He said that you worship Allah seeing Him, witnessing Him by your heart. And that is that the heart is enlightened by Iman. Yani there's light in the heart. That's based on what? A person's Iman. The greater a person's Iman, the greater is that light. وَتَنْفُذَ الْبَصِيرَةُ فِي الْعِرْفَانِ. وَتَنْفُذَ الْبَصِيرَةُ فِي الْعِرْفَانِ. And the basira, yani the insight. Yani basar is your eyesight, right? You see with your eyes. And al-basira is your insight. Yani the ability to understand, to see things yani from the heart and from the mind. He said, so the basira penetrates into the levels of al-irfan, yani perception and knowledge, levels of knowledge. Yani by insight, a person is able to see if the heart is enlightened with Iman. حتى يصير الغيب كالعيان, until al-ghayb, the unseen, becomes like that which is seen. كالعيان, yani that like that which you see with your eyes. وهذا هو حقيقة مقام الإحسان, and this is the reality of the station of Ihsan. Yani the higher level of the stations, of the two stations of Ihsan, is that a person worships Allah based upon their witnessing, seeing Allah with their heart. Yani the heart that's enlightened by Iman, such that a person's basira, their insight, penetrates the higher levels of perception and knowledge to the extent that that which is ghaib, unseen, then it becomes like that which is ayyan, seen with the eyes. And this is the reality of maqam al-ihsan. And then the Shaykh closes by saying, and the second level is maqam al-muraqaba. And he calls the two levels, yani as the Shaykh called them, ibadatul-talab, yani the worship seeking, yani having an urge with oneself to seek the reward of Allah, and ibadatu al-harab, yani worshipping Allah, yani fearing Allah's punishment, yani worshipping Allah well out of fear of His punishment. He calls the second level al-muraqaba. The first level al-mushahada, witnessing Allah by one's heart, by the Iman. And the second level al-muraqaba. Muraqaba, yani وهو أن يعمل العبد على الاستحضار مشاهدة الله إياه وإطلاعه عليه وقربه منه. Yani that is worshipping Allah, that a person acts, a person does their deeds, calling to mind, being conscious and aware that Allah is witnessing him. and that Allah is overseeing him, and that Allah is near to him. Yani worshipping Allah knowing that Allah sees you, and that Allah is watching you, and that Allah is near to you. So if a person calls this to mind, the fact that Allah is witnessing you, and He sees you, and He's observing you, and He's near to you, he said, فَإِذَا اسْتَحْضَرَ الْعَبْدِ هَذَا فِي عَمَلِهِ. If a person calls this to mind in their deeds, وَعَمَلَ عَلَيْهِ, and acts upon it, فَهُوَ مُخْلِصٌ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى. Then that person will be sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is because calling to mind this, that Allah is witnessing you, that Allah is observing you, that Allah is near to you, calling this to mind in one's deeds, يَمْنَعُهُ مِنَ الْإِلْتِفَاتِ إِلَى غَيْرِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى وَإِرَادَتِهِ بِالْعَمَلِ. This prevents a person from looking to other than Allah and seeking, intending one's deed for other than Allah. This prevents that from happening. And then he says, that the levels, these two levels of ihsan, that the people differ in them, to the extent of the penetration of their insight, to the difference in their insight, to whatever extent people have greater insight by greater iman, then their level of their ihsan will be greater according to that.